We got to start again. Week 7 fantasy football instant reactions here on the Audible. Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom, and another early game in London. Of course, it's Jacksonville, but they win 32-16. The final score. They're 2-5 against the New England Patriots. They're 1-6. We're learning about Drake May. He's going to throw a lot. It was 22-10 at halftime. So, they didn't really run the ball. But Drake May tossed it around 37 times, 276, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Very important after last week. What else did we learn? Well, he still loves Hunter Henry, 8 for 92 in this one. Now with more, JaMychal Hasty, 5 for 49 and a touch. Kayshon Boutte, 1 for 33. And it was KJ Osborne with the other touchdown. Austin Hooper also with 4 catches there. Pop Douglas, only 2 for 14. And Kendrick Bourne, 1 for 14. Again, they didn't run the ball, so if you had Stevenson in and he was banged up and you threw in Gibson, you were not happy with the result for the New England Patriots. But again, Bloom, it's more learning about Drake May.
Yeah, and this was a game between two bad teams. Sorry, London. New England jumped out to a 10-0 lead. Played Ramondre Stevenson, who rallied from a foot injury, missed last week, plays this week. If I told you 10-0 lead, you think, great game for Stevenson. No, we'll talk about Jacksonville and how they turn the tide in this game. But with Drake May, from a fantasy standpoint, you're getting what you want with the poor defense and not so much the poor offensive line, but when he's passing, when they're down big in the second half, he's putting up some numbers. And like you said, Cecil, it was Hunter Henry. Last week, Boutte caught a touchdown. Demario Douglas, who left with an illness in this game. So don't think this means, Demario Douglas isn't going to be that guy, because he really barely played in this one. But it was Hunter Henry, and it is for New England. As he's going into the season, I think they were the favorite to pick number 1. Still the favorite to pick number 1.
Still the favorite to pick number 1. Jacksonville, okay, they were trying. That was good. They were succeeding. That was good. They did it all on the ground. Tank Bigsby, 26 for 118, 2 rushing touchdowns. Brian Thomas, I saw our nephew, Matt Harmon, tweeting about him. Love you, Matt. And Brian Thomas was 5 for 89 and a touch. And Matt was like, he's just getting started. He doesn't really know what he's doing yet.
Yeah.
So imagine what happens when he grows and develops. Wasn't a 100-yard game for Evan Ingram. And I just said wasn't. 5 for 35 in this contest. And then behind Tank Bigsby, Darren Johnson got some work as a runner and as receiver. Trevor Lawrence didn't have to do much, Bloom. And they win going away in London.
Yeah, that's the Looney Tunes in you, sees. Like Tweety Bird or Elmer Fudd or, a Brian Thomas, like you say. Talk about cartoon, Remember, this guy comes into the league fast, big, athletic, but still not a finished product. Now, like you said, he's just getting started. And with this kind of ceiling, even when Trevor Lawrence only throws the ball 20 times, you're going to play Thomas basically every week. But this day was really about Tank Bigsby. And yes, we had to hear Doug Peterson say, no, Travis Etienne's still the starter. Okay. But, Tank is showing what he can do. And Tank is going to stand for the idea that a player can have some buzz as a rookie in preseason, really fall flat on his face. And the team says, we believe in him. We expect him to do a lot. Has another buzz-filled summer, and it turns into good play. Good play if you have him. If you played him, he was a great play on the soggy field in London. And then Evan Ingram got his targets, but Christian Kirk, this is going to be a dicey week-to-week play. Gabe Davis, the garbage time touchdowns weren't there. So this is what happens when you play a bad team. Sometimes you can look like a good team, but Jacksonville's playing an actual good team, Green Bay next week.
I like what Aldwin says. Maserati Bigsby for the win. Yeah, forget that Tank thing. And our buddy Bob Harris, the GOAT, says Doug Peterson getting to go home on the team plane seems like a personal win. Not everybody's playing for Doug.
Is it? I mean, maybe he wanted to get fired.
Maybe. Not everyone's playing for Doug. Just watch the Jaguars on a weekly basis. What are the Titans playing for? 34-10. The Bills beat them up. They are 1-5. Buffalo is 5-2, and they are rolling. Now we do have to talk about the Tennessee side. Unfortunately, Mason Rudolph time 215, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Chigio Okonkwo, that's nice, 4 for 50. Tyler Boyd 5 for 43. Calvin Ridley 3 for 42. Remember before this game, and they're like, we're going to use Ridley differently. Yeah, all right. Okay. Nuke Hopkins 1 for -2. Don't tweet at him, Bloom. And then Tony Pollard had 16 carries, 61 yards on the day, and then a couple of catches there. But yeah, Tennessee change at quarterback doesn't change the outcome.
Yeah, this is really just, again, a moment of how adrift a team gets, how adrift a franchise gets when they don't have a quarterback. And okay, you got Will Levis at a discount, but he's not the answer. Mason Rudolph, Steelers fans are nodding along when you look at this stat line, when you look at the depth of target, when you look at the outcome, when you look at the way that, hey, for a quarter and a half, this team looks like credible. And no, they're not. A Mason Rudolph-led team is not a credible opponent and not a credible source of fantasy football value. Tony Pollard, okay, lead back, you're going to play him because of that. But otherwise, Nick Westbrook-Akina getting the touchdown. Early in the second half, this game was still close, and the Titans think they're Dan Campbell Lions, go for it in their own end on fourth down. And then the game just, turned into an avalanche. Speaking of Dan Campbell, yeah, Tennessee, this bad Tennessee team goes to Detroit so they can put on a clinic at Ford Field.
Oh boy, Buffalo Bills time. Amari Cooper, and I think it was Emmanuel Acho who on Twitter pointed out, like on his touchdown, he had no idea what he was doing. He's asking Keon Coleman when Josh Allen puts his hand on his hip. I dip, you dip, we dip. Bloom and Cooper against cover two. Just I think he whirled up the safety a little bit. Gets that touchdown. His first game with the Bills. Gets his 66 yards receiving. Keon Coleman, 4 for 125. Love that kid. 7 for 65 for Khalil Shakir. Love him as well. Fantasy GMs want to love Dalton Kincaid a little bit more, and there was some love. 3 for 52. You're going to take that. Not a lot on the ground, although James Cook did get a rushing touchdown. Ray Davis also with a rushing touchdown, but only 41 and 32 yards, respectively. Josh Allen, 21 to 33, 323, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. And yeah, Amari Cooper, nice addition, nice sword,
Right.
as one of my favorite video games, Darksiders, says.
Yeah. Or maybe it's just Tennessee. I don't know. But at least this is what you're looking for. If you were saying, oh, Amari Cooper's going to unlock everything, and it's possible. And Josh Allen, a great fantasy day as a passer now. I haven't seen that for a while. With Joe Brady offense, that's not really how Allen has the value here. It was the running backs getting 2 rushing touchdowns, but still a big day for Allen and able to fill up a lot of cups here. Amari Cooper and Keon Coleman. And I know Dalton Kincaid wasn't for, tight end, still a pretty mediocre scorer, but if this is the size of the passing pie, if this is how the downfield passing game, if they are a team that can attack downfield like they were, now this is exciting. As really Shakir and PPR was fine. You got a touchdown from James Cook, but Ray Davis, by the way, this game started with 3 and outs for Buffalo. So first, it wasn't so easy. So think about how this team could really get going. So this is the result you're looking for. You got to feel like going back to the backfield, though. Ray Davis is coming. I just, James Cook, not really probably going to get the full season, I think, as a lead back here. As we see some of these rookie backs are just irresistible. Seattle's defense seemed like they were not resisting very much until today. More on that later. That's who Josh Allen gets next week.
Yeah, that's coming up in just a little bit, and Ray Davis is coming. Hell yeah, because you do what works, right?
Yeah.
You do what works. So mix them up, and then you can run and you can pass. Hopefully play some defense, and hopefully beat Kansas City if you're a Bills fan. So yeah, we'll see about that. Plus, Bloom, I say this mainly about college football. But when you face an inferior opponent, right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to kick their ass. Sorry,
Yeah.
Joe. So, like, we can say, well, maybe this is just Tennessee. That's true.
Right.
But also what's true is, like, you kick the crap out of them.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do when you face an inferior team.
Yeah, and they did the same thing to Arizona earlier this year. So we'll just see next week which Seattle team shows up.
That's right. Houston and the Green Bay Packers is our next game up. Picking a fight like Stephon Diggs in the pregame. All right, you do that, Stephon. It's better if you win, but well, that one is taken away from them. A last-second Brandon McManus field goal, 24-22 is the final score. Green Bay Packers win at home. They're 5-2. The Texans fall to 5-2. CJ Stroud, only 86 yards passing, no touchdowns, no INT, sacked 4 times. It was all about Joe Mixon. 115 on the ground, couple of rushing touchdowns there for Mixon, but they couldn't keep things going in terms of their third down conversion rate. Didn't get a lot of chance. Do I even need to read anyone that had receptions? I mean, I guess 5 for 23. 5 for 23 for Stephon Diggs. Like, I guess I can look at that one, but it's 86 yards passing. They almost won this in a game where CJ Stroud had 86 yards passing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because you might look at the score and say, oh, this was some sort of young quarterback duel. I bet that was fun to watch. And not that it wasn't fun to watch, but not if you were counting on the Texans passing game or CJ Stroud. You didn't really have much influence over this. Give Green Bay's defense credit. Is Nico Collins that important to the passing game? Maybe. Like you say, still almost won because Love interceptions, a special teams miscue for Green Bay, and Joe Mixon. This is Joe Mixon offense. Josh Norris pointed this out again. See, sometimes it might be just this simple. Cincinnati was running him out of the shotgun, and Houston's running him with snaps under center, so he's got a head of steam. Boy, do you see it in the way that Joe Mixon is running. Obviously, your fantasy team is profiting because of that. Tank Dell dropped a potential touchdown, but still, the Texans, it seems like they're clearly the best team in the AFC South. But if they lose to Indianapolis next week, they're going to be in a tie for first place.
Yeah. So here we go. Green Bay Packers side. And I think I saw a meme of Jordan Love with like Rodgers as the angel.
Yeah.
Which is weird, on his shoulder. And then Favre as the devil on his shoulder. It's like, be safe. And then, F it, we're playing ball. Like, all right, Jordan Love going out there, getting it done for the Pack. 3 touchdowns, 2 INTs, 220 through the air. Most of it to Romeo Doubs, 8 for 94. Dontavian Wicks back in the end zone with 3 for 48 and a touchdown. Tucker Kraft, 3 for 33 and a touchdown. Josh Jacobs, 5 for 16 as a receiver and a touchdown. Jacobs also 12 for 76 on the ground. Not much from Christian Watson or Jaden Reed, but they get the win thanks to their new guy, Brandon McManus.
Yeah, if you told me that the Green Bay offense was actually going to be Jordan Love offense, and Jordan Love was going to get to play gunslinger out there, you feel good about having Christian Watson. You feel good about having Jaden Reed, and you probably still should feel pretty good about Reed. Watson, you don't know though. It's like a ping pong tennis game here with Dontavian Wicks. Even with Christian Watson healthy, he had the bigger game of the outside receivers, getting more targets. But it was really about Romeo Doubs here as a possession target, and also Tucker Kraft with a beautiful sliding touchdown catch. And Tucker Kraft is a really skilled player. He's going to be really fun. It's going to be some ups and downs, but the touchdown made him a solid game. And a Josh Jacobs touchdown catch. The record books, over 200 catches without a touchdown, most ever in NFL history, finally gets one. And you saw Jordan Love, again, making some mistakes, but also he was the offense, along with some good running by Josh Jacobs. If you're Green Bay, while you want, and again, a last-second field goal by McManus, Love gets the ball back with minute 40 seconds, no problem, setting up that game-winning field goal. You feel good if you're the Packers here, because Cecil, it just isn't often that you're -3 against at least a decent team in terms of giveaways, takeaways, and you win. You find a way to win. So Jordan Love, Green Bay, the incarnation of this team, obviously what he did in the second half of the year is real. This team is for real. And speaking of Jacksonville, this is maybe an extended practice. Don't overlook those Jags next week.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it, Pack. Don't do it, Giants. And extend Dave Gettleman's bad decision by keeping Daniel Jones. I believe our friend Doug Farrar said that on Twitter X. So let's talk about Eagles and Giants. I mean, as much as we can. It's 28-3. The rich man, poor man of Kenny Pickett was in the game. Well, it's Jalen Hurts going for a touchdown and 114, and A.J. Brown getting 89 yards and that touchdown. But then Saquon Barkley, 17 for 176 and a rushing touchdown. By the way, Hurts had 2 rushing touchdowns. So literally running away with this game, which means any of your other assets, not that you would be relying on Grant Calcaterra or Jahan Dotson. You might have been Devontae Smith, though, 1 for -2. But either way, Eagles roll.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. And I still don't know if the Eagles are any good. And that's the thing about the Giants, right? Think about Daniel Jones. But Jalen Hurts for fantasy at least is good. Only threw the ball 14 times and was still a good fantasy play with the 2 rushing touchdowns, the tush pushes. And they even gave Saquon Barkley got one touchdown, had a chance on 1st and goal, I think, to get another touchdown. But Saquon Barkley was the best player on the field. Isn't that ideal, really, in terms of a narrative in this game back? I think they said he's the all-time MetLife Stadium rushing leader. And they'll add to that total as he was the best player on the field. That's all the Eagles needed today was Saquon Barkley. That's how good he's playing. Or AJ Brown, who is healthy. Again, congratulations to the Eagles medical staff having AJ Brown come back seamlessly. You'd rather have a player miss an extra game and then full bore, and that's what he was. Devontae Smith, when they only throw 14 times, this is what happens, like you said, Calcaterra. And is Philadelphia, Washington, by the way, as we're recording, Jaden Daniels leaves with a rib injury. But there's Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts, who's maybe built to be a little more durable as a quarterback outside of the pocket. So Philly, Cincinnati, good matchup next week.
Don't spoil it, Bloom. I'm DVRing that Commanders game.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
Sorry.
I'm kidding. Center yourself on your camera. That's all I need from you, baby. Let's Scott. 4 games down, 4 games to go. Hey, trust me, I gotta scooch over sometimes too. It's a live show, everybody. 4 games down, 4 games to go. Lions and Vikings. Was it everything that was cracked up to be? Well, I mean, it's pretty spicy, shall we say that? 31-29 is the final score. Got me feeling nicey was Jared Goff as the Lions get the win. They're 5-1. The Vikings now 5-1. Goff 280, 2 touchdowns, no INTs with 22 of 25.
Yeah.
The Sun God and Amon-Ra St. Brown 8 for 112 and a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs as a receiver 4 for 44 and then 15 for 116 and 2 rushing touchdowns. David Montgomery, 31 yards on the ground, 39 yards as a receiver. Khalif Raymond, 3 for 39. Sam Laporta, 1 for 25. Timmy Pats, because I love him, 2 for 25. Yeah. And then Jameson Williams. What's up with all these receivers that we rely on getting negative yards? Not that you rely on DeAndre Hopkins, but Devontae Smith, Jameson Williams, another negative play there, but positive for the Lions. And I think was at the grocery store. I can't remember where I was today. I saw a guy in Lions gear. King Supers, yeah. And I saw a guy with Lions gear. I was like, right on, rock and roll, man.
Yeah.
They're everywhere, Bloom.
Yeah, as they should be. No hangover, no Aiden Hutchinson injury hangover in terms of the spirit of this team. And for fantasy, we may not like it, but this is a run-first team. This is, impose your will offense, but not at the expense of passing production and passing efficiency. Again, Jared Goff started 12 for 12 in this game. You already had him go 18 for 18. And say what you will about Goff, but we've seen it now at 2 different stops in his career that he can just mesh with his offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator can explain this is how we're doing it and why we're doing it, and he understands. But it's still the running game. In this game, it was not David Montgomery, who actually had a late fumble that almost cost him the game. Also left with a knee injury for a little while. Didn't look great when he walked off the field either. Walked off, kind of limped off, gimped off. So Jahmyr Gibbs, Jahmyr Gibbs on turf. So explosive and powerful and everything. Remember when they were drafting him 12 Cease? People, what terrible pick. What are they doing? They're doing is drafting a good football player who's going to help them win games. And Amon-Ra St. Brown. So we knew this was going to be kind of like San Francisco. Not every cup could get full every week. And it isn't because Goff wasn't productive, but it was just St. Brown this week, not Laporta, not Jameson Williams. And as long as they can run the ball well, I think that's how it is going to be. Defense makes some plays, a whole team effort. See, these are the 2 teams in the NFC that actually look like Super Bowl teams. And what I mean is they're teams that get contributions from all 3 aspects. They're teams that seem like they have alignment, and on both sides of the ball, people have bought in. So again, Tennessee, not much of a test. This was a test the Lions passed.
Right, test that they passed, a test that the Vikings failed, but what did they learn, Bloom? Sam Darnold, 22 of 27, almost exactly as Jared Goff. 259, 1 touchdown, 1 INT, sacked 4 times. Both these quarterbacks were sacked 4 times. Somebody had a pick. somebody didn't.
Mhm.
And then we talk about Justin Jefferson, 7 for 81, 1 touchdown. Jalen Naylor, 4 for 76. Jordan Addison, 3 for 66. Aaron Jones, 14 for 93 and a rushing touchdown. Sam Darnold also had 39 yards rushing. And then Aaron Jones with 3 for 23 as a receiver. So there you go, falling just short at home. And Vikings fans saying, well, we may see you again.
Yeah, a well-played game on both sides of the ball by both teams, really. You saw Sam Darnold distributing the ball well, Jalen Naylor playing a role here, not quite there with TJ Hawkinson, maybe Thursday night against the Rams, and Justin Jefferson just not necessarily making a big difference in the deep passing game. It's actually the Lions pass rush, and as you mentioned too, the Vikings pass rush. Both pass rushers, even though it was a highly efficient game for the passers, you did see at key points for the Lions, especially the pass rush getting home. Brian Branch with interception. He had also, there was a peanut punch play. Jalen Naylor stepped out of bounds and Branch picked it up and took it in for a touchdown, but was overturned on replay. But Brian Branch, what an impactful player. Again, see, he's talking about these drafts the Lions have been having. Brad Holmes. Certainly, you saw Aaron Jones, hamstring, hip, doesn't matter, making plays early. Certainly, it's his backfield, and he's ended up as this team not undefeated, but this is a team that was one play from the Super Bowl last year, the Lions, and he played them straight up. These teams trading punches in this one, like a heavyweight fight. These are heavyweights. Again, Rams, not quite a heavyweight, but should be an entertaining game Thursday night.
Our favorite games going into this Sunday, Houston, Green Bay, and then Detroit, Minnesota, lived up to the hype. We got
Yeah.
another hyped game going on right now. So let's get through these final three so we can get back to the games. It's Seattle and it's Atlanta up next. And Matt Waldman put it out on X of like, Kirk Cousins gets in trouble because he thinks he's Kirk Cousins. Like,
Yeah.
so 34-14, the final score. Atlanta's 4-3, Seattle's 4-3. Geno Smith, 207 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. DK Metcalf, 4 for 99 and a touch. Bloom, we have to give him the latest injury information that we have
Yes.
there. Noah Fant, 4 for 65. Tyler Lockett, 4 for 45. Kenneth Walker, 2 for 24 and a receiving touchdown. JSN with 3 for 9. Kenneth Walker also had 69 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. But yeah, they get the win. They get the big win traveling across the country to Atlanta. But what's the latest with DK Metcalf?
Yeah, made some big plays. Left with a knee injury. It looked like the trainer was doing something, testing it. He winced or just didn't seem like he felt comfortable. Rode the cart back to the locker room. So we'll see. And why this matters, this was a different script than the last few Seattle games. The defense played better. There's more balance in the offense, and Geno Smith was actually good, just as productive as he has been, even on many fewer attempts. Partially because of Metcalf, partially because of Kenneth Walker. And going into the season, if you put a chip on Ryan Grubb, is going to use him like a lead back. He plays like a lead back. But I don't think very many people had him doing what he's doing in the passing game, whether it's hoovering up 7 or 8 catches as the team is throwing the ball 50 times because they're behind, or in this case, making a wide receiver, a legit wide receiver, full extension, bailing out Geno Smith on a play that should have been easier, kind of touchdown catch for Kenneth Walker. So a lot of fantasy teams with Kenneth Walker, you just love seeing that. Even Noah Fant, back-to-back good weeks, he's become incredible, again, in a low pass volume game for Geno Smith. And Jackson Smith and Jigba, we'll see about that injury. That could put him more in the target share, much larger share, but threw a good pass here to Metcalf in this one at least. So multi-talented. Seattle, a real tough team to figure out week to week, but they certainly could be one that gives Buffalo trouble next week.
Kirk Cousins, a turnover machine today, a couple of picks and a fumble, and a little Keystone Cops play out there. 232, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Again, that aforementioned lost fumble. Then we look at Bijan Robinson, 103 on the ground, 1 rushing touchdown, also 3 for 40 as a receiver. You'll definitely take that. Kyle Pitts, 7 for 65. Drake London, 6 for 63 and a touch. Darnell Mooney, 5 for 46 in this contest. Tyler Algier with 36 yards on the ground, also a catch for 9 yards. So you just have to wonder, Bloom. And, 17-7 at half, so it's not totally out of control. But you just have to wonder, like, without those Kirk Cousins turnovers,
right?
What kind of fight would have this been?
Right. Isn't it messed up, Cease? I mean, let's just take a moment to think about this because it's always the Kirk Cousins line, right? When we talk about quarterbacks, oh, he's above the Kirk Cousins line, he's below the Kirk Cousins line, where Kirk Cousins is really this quarterback because he's good enough, a la Jared Goff. He's good enough to unlock the value in an offense, but he doesn't really add anything else to structure. But like you said, he doesn't know it. Matt Waldman telling you he doesn't know it. He needs a wristband that just says, "You are Kirk Cousins." He looks at that before the play, so he's reminded what he can and can't do. Because that was really where this game got away from Atlanta. Bijan Robinson's good. Tyler Algier, you thought the way Seattle's defense had been playing, this was going to be a game he might get to close out. But no, Tyler Algier looking good on his touches, not getting enough because Bijan Robinson looks great, and they're treating him like a guy that was drafted in the top 10, a foundational player. Drake London with the classic, this is what he does every week, gets a touchdown also. Kyle Pitts now finding different ways to put together fantasy relevant weeks. So, Darnell Mooney, not so much. Ray McLeod going in the background. So even in a down game for this offense, you can see that it's going to be more reliable for fantasy after a little bit of a rough start for this offense, for this team. And what a way to be going into facing Tampa Bay. That's going to be another credible pass offense and a defense that Kirk Cousins, he's going to see some pressure.
Sees that pressure. Deshaun Watson has an Achilles injury. We're totally not going to show you. Here it is, time and time again. All right. It's the Bengals getting the win, 21-14 over the Cleveland Browns. We'll get to Deshaun in just a little bit. But you had Joe Burrow out there, 181, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Of course, Jamar Chase got involved, 5 for 55 and a touch. T. Higgins, 4 for 82 and a touch. Chase Brown, 15 for 44. And then 2 for 9 as a receiver. Zach Moss, 3 for 33 as a receiver, but then just 6 carries for just 7 yards in this one. So they win. The stories are more on the Browns side of things. By the way, Bengals 3 and 4, seeing if they can put something together here.
Yeah, and again, we talk about Seattle, Atlanta, these mediocre teams in the NFC. Ooh, it's going to be tough to get in if you're mediocre during the regular season. But Cincinnati getting a bit of reprieve after a slow start, beating teams you're supposed to be, even if it's not impressive. It wasn't that impressive. Actually, with Nick Chubb back, this Cleveland team came out of the gate. Well, coming out of the gate, they gave up a Charlie Jones kick return touchdown. So the Bengals were in the lead. But then after that, remember, this team got in the playoffs last year, not just because of Joe Flacco, but because of this defense. And the defense was pretty tough on Joe Burrow for a good part of this game. But it's the Browns and the Browns offense, so the Bengals led. And then the second half, it's the wide receivers. It's individual plays by Jamar Chase and good throws by Joe Burrow. Not exactly fantasy bonanza. As we've seen Cleveland's pass defense be a little bit soft, just to allow those guys to get what they needed. You did see Chase Brown, again, with some distance in terms of the backfield share over Zach Moss. Moss a little more involved in the passing game, but because Cleveland's run defense is still good, it didn't matter for fantasy. So they didn't need to do that much on offense to win. They didn't do that much on offense. Again, Philadelphia next week, pretty interesting game for a team trying to revive their season.
We saw the return of Nick Chubb, which was the best, 1 rushing touchdown, 22 yards rushing. David Njoku gets a receiving touchdown. Cedric Tillman with 81 yards receiving to lead the way. Njoku, by the way, had 76. Jordan Akins had 4 for 42. Elijah Moore, 6 for 41. Jerry Jeudy, 1 for 18. No Amari Cooper. And now no Deshaun Watson for the rest of the year with this Achilles injury.
Yeah. See, so I don't want to get too crunchy. Well, I do want to get crunchy, actually. I always want to get crunchy. But, I mean, didn't that feel like a release of some energy? Everyone's felt negative watching Deshaun Watson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has. So, I don't know. Strange doings because Dorian Thompson-Robinson was the number 2 quarterback today. What? Isn't that
They
odd
didn't want to
too?
hear Jameis chants.
Yeah. I mean, again, think about all these things, pendulums, Chekhov's guns kind of introduced to the narrative of the Browns. All of these things happen. Winston plays, Thompson-Robinson plays. And, we'll see what happens. We'll see what other kind of energy can be released. Again, harkening back to Joe Flacco last year. Nick Chubb did get a touchdown, dropped a ball on 4th down as a receiver, but it wasn't a great pass. And otherwise for fantasy, well, I mean, this offense maybe a little bit unlocked with David Njoku, a little bit unlocked with Cedric Tillman now, a good outside receiver, a sturdy outside receiver, do a little better than Jalen Hyatt, his college teammate, and we'll see. We'll see what happens with this Browns team. We'll see what happens. They're going to face Baltimore next week, and again, Cease, don't have a quarterback. You're just adrift. You're driftwood. You're flotsam right now. This poor Browns team and poor Cleveland fans that are hurting because the Guardians played their hearts out against the Yankees, but the Yankees.
I'll trust you.
Yes.
I will trust you in that statement. Let's wrap this thing up. It's Dolphins, it's Colts. We can get through the Dolphins side, which is enough. Enough, buddy.
Yeah.
I really just want to talk about how Anthony Richardson can't throw the football. But let's first get the Dolphins out of the way. And, of course, fantasy GMs with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill getting like 20 yards combined. It's not great, Bob.
No. Tim Boyle ends up playing in this one. Tua can't get back soon enough. Supposed to return next week. Johnny Smith is pretty good. Started slow. Maybe I overreacted because I liked Johnny Smith a lot in the preseason and it didn't happen early, but it's happening now. It's not happening for anybody else in this pass offense. Hopefully that will change when Tua comes back next week. Miami gets a win. No, they can't beat on a day that, again, Anthony Richardson's the story here, not for good reasons. No. So Tua, it's going to have to do some Mr. Miyagi kind of magic on this season when he comes back. The running game, that's what they did have going, about 60-40 for Achane, enough to be not a fantasy disaster. You would hope with Tua back, maybe things will open up for this running game even more if they're doing this with no credible quarterback play. Yeah, Colts are looking for it.
Yeah, they're definitely looking for it. And it's not to say that Richardson is done or whatever, but the progress that we needed to see, he can run, everybody. We know that. The progress we need to see, just like little steps, even Bloom. He's actually taking steps back as a passer this year. So it's like, okay, he can run. You're winning, I guess. You'll get Jonathan Taylor back sometime, maybe next week. But man, Richardson, disappointing as a passer, fantastic as a runner, brilliant, beautiful, wonderful. You can't keep going that way in this league.
Yeah, this is the lack of feel, The people that were really anti Josh Allen were picturing something like this for Josh Allen. And there were moments in his rookie year that it kind of went like this for small stretches because it is a feel. It is a, just being in tune with everything that's going on around you in a meaningful way that creates success. And unfortunately, with Richardson, a lot of talk, hey, he's a learn on the job kind of guy. Like, let him make mistakes, he'll learn from his mistakes. And he showed that at Florida. But maybe it's just the hits he's taking, the injuries. You're not seeing it yet. Now, if we were only halfway through his rookie year, maybe we wouldn't feel so down about this. But again, Indy, from the NFL standing standpoint, if they can go into Houston and win next week, then Jonathan Taylor's back, saving him for that game. They're tied for first place. They also have a pretty good running back in Tyler Goodson in this one. Certainly, it was Raheem Mostert fumble that set that up. So, hey, opportunistic win when there wasn't much going on in the passing game. And again, you beat Houston, you go into first place. Joe Flacco, you saw how the offense functioned with him. Anthony Richardson. I mean, this is tough. This is different than the Bryce Young decision, Cease. You're at a different emotional point in the arc of the season. But at the same time, you have to at least ask the question if you're the Colts internally, even though they don't want it asked in the media, because, as you said, it's not going well for the number 4 overall pick.
Hopefully it's going well for your fantasy team with 7 weeks pretty much done. Bloom, any thoughts from the afternoon games real quick before we wrap up?
Yeah, just this everything's going right for the Commanders except this injury with Jaden Daniels, and you wondered how long it could last because it's just such a joy to have him to watch on Sundays. Really, forget about fantasy football. It's just so great to have potentially another great quarterback. But the Rams, low wattage team right now. The Chiefs, 49ers, a defensive struggle, And that's our cue to get back to watching a great game.
Perfection. He is Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on X at Sigmund Bloom. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying thanks for watching, everyone. Stay tuned. Watch these videos. Peace and stay frosty.